and welcome to Little Lady Lane. So with today's projects, we've got some kitchen stuff and then just us being out and about in the garden. So we'd found this little guy knocked out from one of them under one of the mums and was covered in dirt. So we thought it actually passed away, but once we gave a little bit of TLC, we were able to get that by the afternoon back under the mum, and it's doing really well. And as for our garden area, it's looking pretty sad at the moment. We've had lots of really hot days here in Tassie and not a lot of rainfall to marry up with it. So unfortunately there isn't a great deal of stuff coming in. So we were pulling out some of our rabbit from the freezer. We had a few bags to process and try and get into jars on the shelves. So we had 4 bags. Each bag was roughly either just over or just under 2 kilos. So there was 8 kilos to be processed. That's with bone in. So we've done the back straps and pulled the meat off those, which is very similar to how you would use chicken breast. And then the thighs, which is similar to a chicken, we just use in the same types of recipes that we would use chicken thighs for. So we also had potatoes that we're able to process and get that into some of our soup mixtures to get into jars. So this here was the chicken thigh style that we've pulled off, and that was from, I believe, 10 thighs. And then the back straps, we'll keep all of these bones. There was actually quite a lot of fat on these, which we were surprised about. And we had processed these rabbits, I believe, closer to around the 6 to 7 month mark. So that's obviously made a difference too. So the remaining thighs we've gotten in with some of the onion peels that we keep to make the stock. And then we'd also made up a batch of country chicken style soup. We'd halved that, canned some, and then also ate some that night for dinner, which was fantastic. But obviously we can't can pasta and cheeses and things like that, so we've just separated those two out, and then we'll add that in once we go to cook this. Got started on our dinner for that night with some of the processed chicken that we had. I do sort of like a shredded rabbit, like you would shredded chicken breast, where we just have that going with lemon zest, salt, pepper, a bit of garlic, onion powder, and some thyme and oregano, and then just let that simmer and break apart so we can add that into other things, whether we're going to have more like a chicken salad style. But for this, we do like a chicken gozlami style filling later on in the day, and add that to those naan bases basically, and then just pop them in the sandwich press. So LJ was working on this. The recipe probably didn't have enough flour, so we added heaps to the benchtop later when we were rolling them out, but it did the trick for the night. So, and they tasted pretty good, so we're happy with that. Our fillings for the gozlami style, we go more towards the chicken style. We'll have onion, garlic, salt, pepper, sumac, lemon zest, lemon juice. Usually a Danish feta is what we have in the fridge, so we use that, and some mozzarella cheese once it cools down, and then we pop that into our filling and pop it in the sandwich press. So add dips to go with it are Greek yogurt, olive oil, sometimes a little bit of lemon juice, harissa paste if it's for the adults, and just some basic herbs like smoked paprika or regular paprika and some mint. The country soup had come out of the canner. I could tell immediately the one at the front and the middle wasn't going to seal properly. It didn't have the excessive bubbling that the other jars had, and that was the case. So it went into the fridge. With the rabbit stock that I had done with the last batch to be processed, the stock was a little bit cloudy, so I did go through it and I strained it twice just to get rid of these little particles, and then it was pretty clear afterwards, and I got it put into jars. It was becoming later in the night, so I did put that into the fridge to process the next day, but they looked really great. So, and Craig said they look like honey. My sink was full of dishes, so I did just use a hot soapy cloth to go through and wipe all the debris off, and then did a second wipe and had LJ get these ready for labelling. Has been really hot outside lately, so the dog has been inside for her day naps and playing with LJ hide and seek. So that's been their new hangout space and games that they've been playing, but it's keeping them both occupied, so that's good. Back to LJ doing her favourite part, the writing of the labels, and today's jar, she decided that all the circles will be coloured in because she can. Is a bit.
It keeps falling.
So you're doing just circles today?
I could do like tiny pieces.
Up to you.
Yeah.
Why don't you do tiny pieces with the really big one? If you're going to do the green one. You were planning on using that one?
Yeah.
Yeah. LJ loves chopping veggies, so that was her job to do. There was quite a lot, but she was happy to do it. And then this was the rabbit stock once I had pulled it out of the canner. I did think at first there was going to be 2 that didn't seal, but it ended up only being 1. So I don't know what the go was with that. It is a different lid canning ring, so I think that might have been a bit of an issue there with that one. Ended up shredding up the rabbit. Some of it we used to make a bit of a chicken tikka entree style, which we're pretty happy with. There were 2 styles that we made. One was better than the other, so we'll keep mucking around with that so I can share it with you later on. And the kids quite enjoy Indian, so it was a win for us. Remaining shredded rabbit, we'd also made like a enchilada empanada style with just some puff pastry. It was a make do with what we had that night, and they turned out pretty great. Kids loved them. And with the stock that we had left, we turned that into a pho. So we had garlic and onion that we've just pan fried to sear and get some of those flavors, and also I had some herbs that we had sort of sauteed to get the oils released, and I did pop them into a coffee grinder just to break them down, and popped all of that into the stock pot. Blair loves this, so it's one of her favorite dishes, so she's hands-on for this, which is awesome. I did add 2 jars of bone broth. One was a beef and one was a chicken bone broth that I had. So I thought I was just going to use that and add it to the stock as well for a few different dimensions in the flavour, which turned out really great. So I would probably do that again next time also. So this is a coffee grinder that I have gotten. I'm sure I've maybe spoken about it on my Instagram stories before, but it's just the cheaper one from Kmart. I'm pretty sure it was under $30, and I use it for everything. It's fantastic. Not only do I use it for like herbs and spices and things like that, but even like to grind down our parmesan. If I shred it, I'll also put it through that, so it's like that fine powder when you purchase it at the store. So yeah. When we make this, we do really love to have our chicken velveted. So usually I would use bicarb soda, but for today I think I just had corn flour. So I just coat it all, add a little bit of water, and let that sit for about 20 minutes. Rinse it off and then boil it in some water and drain it, and then we add it individually into our dishes that way. So that's how we usually do ours. So we had 2 versions of this going, one that we were going to have for dinner, but then I've also separated some of that out that we were going to pressure can. So Blair loves to have soup in the afternoon after school, so I thought that's going to be great if I can have that in individual sizes for her, or if we're having like a carbonara, because she doesn't really like creamy sauces, she can have that instead. Canner. So we just follow like the canning your own soup guidelines when we're making soups. So this was the pot that we had for dinner that night, and then we just add all the individual components into what everyone wants into our bowls, and that's it. So it's really simple but yummy and pretty tasty. So, and then these were our jars the next day. So they look really great. I did do, it is what they call like the ugly chicken style, where it's uncooked. There was a few diced pieces of uncooked chicken into each of them, which is obviously cooked now that it's been pressure canned. So it doesn't always look the prettiest, but it still tastes really good, so that's alright. It doesn't really with one jar not sealing. So we popped that into a container and that went into our freezer, and that would be one of the first ones that Blair would eat in the afternoon. So it's not too much of a shame if it doesn't happen to seal, because she was going to eat it. She was going to eat it very soon, to be honest, anyway. Thank you so much for spending time with us, and hopefully this gave you a little bit of inspiration if you're keen to try out some rabbit and how we use it here on our little homestead. Thanks so much. Bye.